game over. Oh, I love that. It's like the countdown clock. I kind of forgot one thing, and I don't know if you saw that right at the last second. It's like N0, game over. All right. Hey man, episode 2. Welcome back.
Welcome back to the channel.
Yeah, a lot of real quick little back and forth things we had to do there right last second, but hey, we got it up and running. So episode 2, here we read it, man. What do you think about the last episode with that win I got? Right, I snuck it out at the last minute, man. We were tied 3-3, and I think you kind of gave me a layup right at the very end there, and let me squeak by with a 4-3 win.
Yeah, I totally let you have that one.
Yeah, I think you did, man. I think you let me off the hook. I was like, oh man, this is not going to be good, but it is what it is. So
it was inevitable.
Yeah, right. So, what do you think of this article today, man? Not too bad.
I really liked the article. I thought it was a good one. Definitely. I definitely wanted to cover this one. Very interesting.
Yeah. So, I don't know if our tens and zeros of listeners right now, but maybe when the people restream this. So we're doing the "Am I the asshole for telling my daughter I couldn't have known my parenting style would cause mental issues, and say it's partially her personality." So, it sounds like she's like, well, how was I supposed to know I was going to screw you up? I mean, yeah, basically. Yeah, that's a tough one. So it's like, as a parent, the last thing you want to do is screw your kids up, right? But if you get the chance to blame them, you might as well go ahead and do it. I do it all the time. I'm like, hey, yeah, you totally would have not have tripped over the stuff I left out there if you were watching where you're going. Not my fault. Like get your beak out of the sand and look around. But no, definitely my fault. So, and so today we got our guest, man. We have our very first guest.
We got a challenger.
We do. We have a challenger, and he is going to be going head to head with you. Today I'm going to be the ref, and yeah, man. Should we bring him on board?
Let's bring him in.
All right. Let's say hi. Steve fucking Chang, man. I love that nickname. That you just can't make that up. So much power. I feel bad for Khalil. I have so much power in a nickname. I mean, like, we got the leaky boat and we got Steve fucking Chang. So awesome.
You almost expect me to say some pretty horrible things, so it should be interesting tonight.
Right. No, I'm really excited. I'm excited for this. So, how are you? Are you like a Reddit aficionado, or are you kind of new to it?
I'm totally new to it. It's something I've kind of bounced around in here and there over the years, but like diving in and really staying on the forums and kind of going through all of the comments for some of these things, I haven't really done that deep of digging, but in the last week, I've kind of been digging in a little bit more and kind of getting used to what goes on in there. And man, there are some people that really have some deep passions for some of these topics. So it gets pretty interesting.
Oh, I'm telling you.
That is true.
Right. I mean, I don't know how many times Khalil and I are sitting there and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe somebody just put that on the internet. Like,
yeah.
Oh my, and God bless these people, because they didn't do what they did, we wouldn't have episode 2. So, but God, some of the stuff, man, some of the stuff I really relate to, some of the stuff I will relate to. And I'm like, man, more power for you for saying that, because there's things that are in my head I wish I could say, but I just don't. And more power to them. But they're also anonymous, right? So for the most part, it looks like they're anonymous. The person for actually, Khalil, you sent out one to me the other day, and I reached out to that person, nothing back. I mean, why would they want to be on our show after writing some of these things? But maybe we'll get lucky.
Yeah, someday,
right? So
put out some more content.
Right. Just gotta adjust that a little bit there. Sorry about that. I was looking off to the side. Yeah, no, and maybe they'll get here. So along our scrolling rating here for the Reddit ratings, how they have their things like YTA, you're the asshole, the NTA, not the asshole, ESH, everyone sucks here. I love their ratings that they have. And then I didn't know, because I'm still kind of new at the Reddit thing too. I browsed through, but specifically, Am I the Asshole? They send up every once in a while they close it out. So they close all the voting. And so all the comments are people voting. And then they put up a tally of percentages of who voted what with these info, not enough information.
That seems fairly new, huh?
I'm not sure. Probably someone's going to be like, oh, that's been there the whole time. But new to me because I just saw it. And I think that's a great idea. Absolutely great idea.
Yeah.
So... rules of the game. Let's see if I can bring in our stuff here. So the rules of the game is to basically win, right? So Steve, you are the challenger today. So what we're going to do is we have a coin flip, and I'm going to bring in the coin here in just a second. And when I bring in the coin, it's randomized, so it'll be heads or tails. So if it goes to heads, it's your choice. If it's heads, you can be basically backing the guy that wrote the article or the lady that wrote the article, the mom. Or if it's tails, you're backing the daughter. So you'll be arguing for the daughter today. But it's your choice. You can also do heads for the daughter and tails for the mom. It's up to you. So what would you like it to be?
Let's go with option one. So heads was mom, tails was daughter, right?
All right, sounds good. And then so Khalil, you get whatever he doesn't get. So whatever the coin says is who Steve is going to be the basically the spokesperson for today. So let's see what we got.
Sounds good.
That's definitely not what I was looking for there. Sorry about that. Yep, that happens. While I am pulling up the correct thing, Steve, you're out in California with us, right? So you're just north of us here.
Yeah, I'm like an hour north. I'm Temecula, Marietta area, so wine country where I'm from out here.
Nice.
I love Temecula. Nice housing.
Yeah, it's a great area. I'm one of those kids that I grew up out here, so for me, we're less likely to be excited about it, but it's a great area. There's low crime, there's great schools, the air is clean. We're an hour from the beach. We're pretty much an hour away from everything right here. Mountains, forest, beach, or desert. So it's pretty cool. Growing up, I did mountain biking and a lot of motorcycles and also water sports. So, I can say I'm definitely one of those privileged children that definitely got to enjoy SoCal at its finest.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So,
about the wine.
So we got to do one of these shows actually at one of these wineries. That would be pretty cool.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That would be nice.
That'd be awesome. We actually do every once in a while. We do we call it Beers of a Feather. So it's an episode where we'll go to like a brewery and we'll talk to the brewmaster or whoever will talk to us, and basically go through, and as we go through each beer, have you ever seen Hot Ones, like they eat the hot wings and ask questions? We do kind of similar idea, not to crush on their style, but it is an awesome style. But we do that, and then there we go. There we got a coin flip. Nice. All right, so let's go ahead, and that's not what I wanted to do. This is all over the place today. So basically, we would do the same thing, and we would just talk to him about the beers and whatnot. We did whiskey. That was a rough one. Just Khalil and I did it with a flight of whiskey. that was a long episode.
Who ended up winning?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we really took.
I can't remember.
We weren't doing score at that time. So
yeah, that was our very first one, actually.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, that's cool.
So anyways, let's flip this coin. Let's flip this coin since I went ahead and messed everything up. So we'll go ahead and throw this on real quick. And that is not what I wanted it to do. Let's Let's see if I can refresh this thing and have it flip for us. That'd be awesome. Flip again. Totally didn't do anything, did it? No, man. I'm having issues here today. All right. Well, if you will just go with me, I'm going to go ahead and flip it here. And it is flipping. You're going to have to take my word for it. It is heads. So heads. Okay,
so I'm the mom's perspective, right?
You're the mom. Well, you know, and it's interesting because I actually think I could argue for the mom. I actually do.
I was thinking the same thing.
Right? I feel
not necessarily argue as in say she's right, but you know,
some points
I could have made a few. Yeah, I could have made a few points. Yeah.
Right. I really think I could do something for, like, I really do. I feel like this is crazy. I really feel like I could argue for her. And just because of, well, we talked about it, like just some of the things that we were talking about before was Steve and I were, you know, just, you got cultural differences. I mean, like there's so many things. I don't want to give anything away. So needless to say, Steve won the coin flip. Khalil, it's going to be up to you now. And we got a 10-minute shot clock starting now. We got 10 minutes. See who wins this.
All right. Am I starting or?
It's you, man. You're the starter.
All right. Well, so just to talk a little bit about the post, it says that the mom was, you know, what did she flee? She fled the country, so she's not culturally from here. And I think that's pretty important because it sounds like her parents was really hard on her. And now she's doing the same thing to her daughter, if not worse. What it definitely sounded like to me, reading through the post, it was definitely some emotional abuse there, like for sure.
So you're saying that the mom's emotionally abusing the daughter?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Can you give an example of that? On the spot.
She said something about where she came home. Oh no, she had really bad grades one year or semester or something like that. And she basically gave her daughter the silent treatment and said that she didn't even eat at the table. She was eating standing up in the kitchen. Like that's brutal. Like how do you do that? And I think it's funny that she says something about not knowing that, you know, her daughter was going to end up this way, but I think that is, you know, that's probably true in a sense. Like she probably didn't know, but that's definitely an issue. Like how can you not know? How can you not know this is going to affect your daughter in a negative way? How could you possibly think as a mother that this is okay? That's just ridiculous to me.
So you're saying that she should have known. The mom should have known, right? Like,
no, she definitely should have known. How can you not know? You can't possibly think that's okay.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I can see that. Steve, you got a rebuttal?
I mean, honestly, if she was doing what she was raised with and she came out okay, she may not have that possibility of what you're saying of knowing that she's doing something wrong. What she's maybe seeing from her daughter may be things of like personality traits, that maybe her behavior that she's choosing, she could choose to do more homework or study better and do better at the test or focus a little bit further. You know, and that's where this is hard because we don't have a ton of the specifics on some of these other things. As far as like the emotional abuse aspect of that, there's a lot worse that happened to us back when I was a kid, and even when my parents were kids. You know, going to Catholic school, if you weren't doing your grades, you're getting your face smacked with rulers. You're getting different things. Like, if you talk back to some of these nuns, you were getting physical, you know, consequences to that. So as far as like having some kind of negative reinforcement to it, maybe it didn't work well for that daughter. But it sounds like overall, after the years, it sounds like she ended up doing pretty well. And it sounds like more recently, when she's in her master's degree program, she's actually getting passing grades that are A's, but not the perfect score. And that's what she was upset about in this article. That kind of started this whole conversation, it sounds like, between the mother and the daughter. So I think there's actually some reasonable ground for the mom to be standing on, that she was actually doing what she could to motivate her child that she knew how to do, that was actually not as bad as putting some physical abuse out there, but actually doing what she could to manipulate the behavior to get her to do better in school, which sounds like worked if she made it to a master's program.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. What do you think, Khalil?
You know, they do say that emotional abuse is a lot worse than physical abuse.
My feelings are hurt, but my head's caved in.
It's different. Like, I don't know, and I don't think it's that bad. Like maybe it's not a thing they could have done for their child, but I really don't think that's that terrible. Like they're not making them go out there with some clothes that are saying "I failed" and go walk around town or do something that's in front of a ton of people. That's in their household, and maybe it was just too awkward to talk, and maybe they're just crappy parents. As far as this specific conversation where we're talking about like, is that bad? I don't know. It sounds like it actually worked to a degree. Maybe there should have been some follow-up conversations to explain what that was and what they were doing so that the daughter didn't feel so happy about it. But I don't know. If I'm fighting for the mother here, I do see some ground for that.
Yep.
Culturally, it's very different in other places. So her having that and not being physical and not doing other things that are worse, I think is a little bit more controlled, but maybe not the best thing that we would do today.
So how do you guys feel about her not letting her actually have a social life? Like she wasn't really allowed to have friends, wasn't allowed to go to the mall, wasn't allowed to hang out with anybody. She just had to stay home and study. I mean, I think I do agree with trying to get your kids to get good grades and be successful and all, but they have to have a social life. They have to have a social life, at least to a certain degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think part of that may be because they were from another country. Maybe the parents weren't having much of a social life at the time, so they weren't imprinting very well onto the child. Maybe they weren't very comfortable. Maybe they were doing what they could to have like a safer, better future. But in that short period of time when that was going on, maybe they weren't teaching their daughters about some of these things. But that could be a cultural thing too, though, because some of these countries, I mean, you look at Japan and some of these kids, I mean, it's very focused. They're study. They go to school, they go home, they do their homework, they have some other interests. But some of these other countries, they don't have a lot of time in between academia and, the next day itself with all the studies involved.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, her sister had a social life. Her sister was able to have friends and go out and do things. I mean, how can you think it's okay for one child to go out and do things and have fun and, be, just be a normal kid, I guess you can say. Well, the other one has to stay at home and just watch her younger sister do all the things that she couldn't.
That's where I'm thinking more of the situation was at play, because they, over time, became more comfortable. So by the time the younger daughter was able to be coming into these situations, their perspective had changed because they were more Americanized.
Yeah. I definitely think that's a big point to bring up as well. The first child is usually the guinea pig.
Did you just agree with him? You just agree with him.
I was making a point that the oldest child is usually, trial and error. You know what I mean? You're going. She had postpartum as well, so I think that's definitely a big thing to bring up as well. I don't really know too much about that, but how much of that could be like biological? You know what I mean? How much of that trauma did she go through? That kind of she put on the child. At a very young age, and I think it's not really fair for her to say something like, why are you like this? You made me like this. Her whole life, she had to fight for her parents' approval. Like, that's huge. Like, going your whole life having to prove yourself to your own parents. Like, really? Like, that's huge.
I think that's everywhere. I think that expectation is everywhere. So, like, is it really that upsetting? Should this girl be that upset that, they had a high expectation for their daughter to do better? They did everything they could to change their life, to uproot themselves away from everything they knew to provide better for their family. But, like, the expectations, I think, culturally, especially, like, my parents, my dad's family, they came over from China and Philippines. So for them bringing everybody over, they didn't teach any of us Tagalog or Mandarin or anything. They wanted us to fit in within the American culture. So it was very much a specific thing. Like, you need to succeed. You're going to be the first generation that's going to be going through college or doing X, Y, Z. So I think a lot of that is going to be kind of, it'll change with time, the perspective for the parents as they become more cultured here. So yeah, it's hard to say, but with the daughter, you know, part of this argument from this whole article was that it was her personality, right? So maybe it's a part of just her because her sister didn't come out this way. And a lot of that is kind of situational and I think environmental, because who knows what the sisters' different experiences were growing up, what their friendships were, or, you know, what kind of trauma they may have received from some of these things, or sports or different things they may have kind of like branched out in different ways. So it's hard to say that it's just the parent that would cause these kind of like insecurities, you know.
Right. We don't know what kind of mental issues she has other than depression. You know, you did mention, you know, everybody wants their child to succeed, and they always feel, you know, to a certain degree, they do definitely feel like they have to prove themselves to their own parents, you know, to a certain degree, of course. But not every kid has depression. Not every kid had a mother that had postpartum depression. We don't really know how much of that affected her personality and affected the way that she, you know, sees the world in terms of her parents and having to get their, you know, gain their approval when it comes to like school and being successful and such. I think that's a very fair point to even bring up the fact that her depression might have played a big role in it. And we don't know what other things she might have been diagnosed with as well. Especially,
we're talking about the daughters or the mother's depression.
The daughter, right? We don't know what are the things that she was like diagnosed with. I know that like in other cultures and stuff like that, other than the American culture here, is they don't focus too much on mental health. You know, it seems like that's in my experience, they don't focus too much on that. A lot of them believe that it's fake. A lot of it they don't really take it seriously.
That's why for me, should the mother really feel that bad? If she was raised in an environment where the expectations were as such, that's what she knew until she got to America. And it sounds like, you know, they were raising the child when she was young as they got over here. So I think a lot of that shifted. So that's where I think like fighting that why the daughter thinks that the younger daughter got it a lot better, maybe so. But there should also be, you know, looking back, if she's 28 years old going through a master's program, she should be able to look back at some of the things her parents did and have more understanding as to what it was and why they were doing it. Because I mean, I've done that, and I've looked at things and thought about things that pissed me off to no end when I was younger, and now I look back and I'm like, okay, they were right for giving me some consequences or holding me accountable for specific things. So that's partially, I think, an environmental thing that the mother didn't know until a certain point, and that she probably didn't know that it was wrong until this whole conversation. It just gradually changed over time as she became more ingrained in our culture.
I think what makes the mom the asshole, like, nonetheless, is just a simple fact that you talk to your daughter that way and thinking that it's, yeah, maybe it could be her personality, but you molded that personality. Like, how did she become this way in the first place? You know, you gotta go ahead.
There's a lot of influence from schools and from other things. I mean, there's a lot of aspects of my parents and their personality traits that I didn't take on. So I don't know. That's where, is it really all the mom's fault? Is she the only one responsible for molding that personality? Or at a certain age when you're a young adult, is that a choice that you start making and you go down certain paths and it's all about your own choices? Is it your mom's fault from 18 years old to 28 that you don't have an understanding of what the expectations were and why they were there?
Right. I don't think it's as easy as just saying it. You know, I think you do make a pretty good point on saying how much do you have to right. Every time I see you make a good point. He does make a good point. But also at the same time, like, how much of it do you have to take you have to take responsibility for what you did to your own daughter. You can't necessarily just put it all on her. Yeah, it may be her personality, but she turned her into this way. You know, it was definitely some emotional abuse.
I think a big question on this would be, did the daughter bring it up ever? Because if the mom, like I'm saying, isn't aware that she was doing something wrong, because culturally she's doing what she knew was best between when she was coming over and now, it shifted. But did the daughter ever really bring this up? Maybe the parents could have noticed some behavioral problems or whatever, but it sounds like maybe she was holding it all in. And the mom didn't really know. So the mom was doing what she knew to drive her forward. And it sounds like she's doing successful. Like I said, if she's in a master's program and kind of like doing well and still moving through things, I don't think the mom and dad may have even noticed that they did something wrong until the daughter brought it up. Which, if she's only bringing it up now, they never would have known to be able to adjust course.
Can you blame her for holding it in, though? I mean, can you blame her for not saying anything? Do you know how much, how much back she could have gotten from her parents?
Yeah, but that's that with my family. I've thought back on certain key issues, and like this is the hill I will die on, and I'll have that argument and I'll hold my ground with them. And at the end of the day, whether we end up on the same page or not, may be a different story. But they're still family, and we work through it and support each other. So that's where it's hard for me to see, is it really all the mom's fault? I think part of it is just the daughter's residual, coming back, her anger just kind of like floating there because it hasn't been dealt with.
All right, we got 1 minute left. 1 minute left.
1 minute. All right. I think the point of bringing up like the whole thing about where everybody's dealt with this, you want your child to succeed. Everybody deals with that, but not every child is emotionally abused. Not every child has to stand up in the kitchen and eat their food while
the rest of the family has a dinner table.
That's not that bad. Oh man,
there's a lot worse.
That's some serious emotional abuse. You didn't have to deal with that. You didn't go through that. Yeah, so you did turn out all right. Not everybody goes through the things that she went through.
I mean, I'm not saying I didn't have to go through certain situations that are similar but different. I mean, I'm not going to get into some super specific things at the moment, but there's definitely some things that I had to go through that definitely weren't my fault with my parents' divorce, and certain things when I was younger that definitely affected my personality and how I could have turned out. My brother is a completely different perspective than me. I tend to take things that were adversities back then and things that made me frustrated and found ways to make it my strength when I was in high school and kind of moving through into my 20s, where my brother hasn't done some of those things and he has a lot more things that he has to deal with for me. So it's like, is it really the parents at that fault? We were both raised in the same house and we went down completely different paths.
All right. Last comment each. Last comment. Khalil, you're down by one, man. See if you can tie this up. It's got to be a new thing. So we know that she's been emotionally abused. We know that the mom has her cultural differences, and let's see what we got. He's perusing. He's looking. He's like, I need something. Oh my God, Reddit people, help me out here.
Well, let's see. Yeah. I think that I believe the husband said something about you didn't have to bring that up, and that's another thing that makes her even a bigger asshole is she's asking her daughter, why are you like this? You know exactly why she's like this. You know the reason why she's like this is because she has depression. She's had to fight for your approval her whole life. She never felt validated, and she's watching her younger sister get, be successful, get good grades, earn the approval of her parents in a sense that she could go out and have a social life. And, I think that takes a heavy toll on somebody. I don't think that's something to discredit there. That's some huge emotional abuse there. When you feel like you're, that the child that just never earned approval, that's huge.
All right, Steve, last comment. What you got?
I hear you on that. So,
did you just agree to him?
Maybe a little bit rough.
Did you just?
No. I hear your point.
All right. You hear the point.
I hear the point, but that's where sometimes it's rough love, right? Sometimes you got to hear some tough news. Sometimes there's got to be a catalyst.
Is this tough love?
I think so. I mean, she wasn't chaining her. She wasn't chaining her to her homework or to the desk.
Why are you like this?
At worst case, they weren't eating dinner with her. But maybe that's because they didn't want to get into an argument because they were holding back their feelings and they were trying to not be overly aggressively negative and make her really feel bad. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they knew that was something that was affecting her that bad. So that whole comment, I think mom was doing it to try to help her. It wasn't meant as like a negative stab at her. It wasn't posted online like, hey, why is my daughter like this? Before she had the conversation, she was asking her because she didn't understand. She was actually probably truthfully upset that her daughter was upset about these grades and couldn't understand it and wanted to know why. And then the frustration of it, maybe it was a little bit of a rough question, but I don't think she understands or thinks that it's her fault in any way for some of these things. It sounds like it in the article. After the conversation, there may have been a slight shift in how the mom looks at it. But towards the end of the thing, she's still asking, am I the asshole? So I think she still has those feelings that she did the right thing. Her daughter's successful. Maybe it wasn't exactly what her daughter wanted, but did it do the job?
I think the reason why she came on to Reddit was to figure out whether or not she was the asshole.
To be validated.
A judgment has been made. Everybody is calling her the asshole.
There has, but they didn't have Steve here for defending her with a 13-12 lead. I mean, come on, man.
This is true.
All right.
He's making a lot of fair points. I definitely say so. And I think what it really comes down to is communication. It's like you said, the daughter never brought it up. I think that they can both benefit from some type of therapy or something like that. You know, I don't know if she's ever got the whole postpartum, depression checked out. She might be dealing with some other PTSD from fleeing the country, and how much of that is put on the daughter. How much. I don't know if it's just depression. She says that she was diagnosed with just depression, but it could be a lot more than that.
Yeah, I was reading some of these comments here. I was trying to read some of these comments here, and there's a lot to be said. So, coming from,
he was froze on my end. Is that on your end as well?
It's probably just everything looked good here on our side, so it's just yours. You're still looking good here. Except for I think Steve's frozen. Nope, Steve's frozen. Steve froze on us, but we got audio on you. So we'll just go with your picture here, which is still good. You're smiling.
There you go.
I think I really think that coming from, like, you got Steve coming from immigrant families, and then I'm second gen here. My mom, she really didn't speak Spanish coming in. Her family's from Mexico. My grandparents are from Mexico, and so she didn't. Her older sister spoke Spanish, and then they stopped once everybody immigrated over, right? So there's a part of trying to fit in with where you live, but you also got to remember there's like this mom was raised, and whether or not we look at it as like this egocentric viewpoint of this Western mentality that our way is correct, this Western philosophy of right, wrong, what's moral, what's not, it's really through our lenses over here. So you got you got people that are coming from the Eastern religions and from all over the world, and they're generations of this viewpoint. And even though it's not our viewpoint, it doesn't mean that it's the wrong viewpoint, right? So because if it was the wrong viewpoint, they would have generations over there of people super messed up like her daughter, right? So and it's not to say that they don't, but here in the United States, we have tons of generations of kids that are super messed up, right? So it doesn't really matter, I think, at the as far as how the mom was raising her, because again, that's how she was raised. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but at some point, I think that a little bit is this generation of entitlement that's coming across here in the United States. And I'm probably gonna get hate mail for that, but it's true. It's like I was raised that if you needed something and your parents couldn't get it for you, you figure out how to get it. Like, I'm going to go get a job, find out where I can get work, and if I'm too young, let's see if I can find somebody who'll pay me under the table for mowing lawns or cleaning cars or whatever I can do if I want to buy something if my parents can't afford it, right? And then I also kind of grew up in the aspect where they needed help with their company, so I didn't get to go play after school. I got to go help with the family business, because that's just what was required. But now generation, is like, no, I get everything. I'm entitled to this, and I feel like I should be getting this. And I just that whole like drive to better yourself because you want to better yourself is kind of gone. So a little bit of this onus is on the daughter. You know, she's young, she's depressed. She can go out and get help. There's tons of great resources. In fact, maybe I'll link a couple into our thing here. But there's great resources for depression. There's great resources for young people to kind of get support groups on how to get your life ready, how to get going. There's support groups in colleges for kids that are having problems with like their grades. There's all these support groups that are out there. But again, we can only go with what we read. So we don't know. Maybe she did all this and she's just like, oh my God, my family. So we just don't know, right? We got the point of view of the mom. But I think she did a pretty good job kind of bringing them both in and out. And I think she also kind of brought it back to her daughter a little bit. So because she could really write this like she's the asshole, right? Like the mom could really write this out like you're the asshole. And then she could have wrote it out like her daughter was the asshole. And I think she did a good job with kind of going back and forth because you can kind of see what's going on in her head. She's like, oh, I kind of messed her. I think I messed her up because, you know, this is the way it is here. And she has this like duality going in her head. Did I do wrong? Did I do right? Did I do wrong? Did I do right? So, you know, kudos for her for writing this and hopefully she has thick skin because some of these comments are pretty bad in this article. People have no filter.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that there was a lot of details that she definitely left out. I mean, she's 28 now. She's been dealing with trying to earn the approval of her parents for 28 years. You know, there's definitely a lot more details that's definitely left out. And, you know, we don't know how badly that scarred her.
Oh, yeah, she's probably screwed. I mean, you know, you spend as a kid, you spend your entire life trying to prove yourself to your parents, and then they die, and you kind of, for I think majority of people, and this is my own opinion, kind of have this little spot in the back of their head. They're like, did they ever look at me like I was an adult? Like, did I ever become an adult in their eyes and was able to do my thing? And that's a tough thing to really get because. You just never know unless you have like that family that's super open and you get like the dad that gives you a high five. He's like, oh man, I'm so proud of you. I've never had that. Right. My dad said it a couple times like, hey, I'm proud of you for doing this, but no, it's like, all right, cool. Go work harder. So communication, clearly you had that, man. Communication, everything that I ever read on here, I think like almost everything can get solved with proper communication.
Yep. I agree.
So,
yep.
Well, shoot, man.
Yeah, I think it would have been a good idea for her to just bring it up and just talk to her mom about the situation, but she should have talked to her daughter at the same time as well, you know, try to see where she was coming from and you know, why. I think that the way that she asked it, you know, why are you like this? You know, your sister's not like this. You know, everybody's different. Everybody thinks differently. Everybody goes through different experiences, and that's going to mold and shape the person that you are.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, like, there's a lot of kids and there's a lot of people out there who blame everything and everybody else for their failure. So, like, was it really the mom's fault because she put so much pressure on you? Or is it that, like, you didn't put enough effort in, you didn't ask sometimes, and you blamed mom somehow for that down the line because of them being upset about it, which I'd be upset if I knew my kid could do better and I know they were out there just screwing up and weren't really putting everything into it. I could understand being upset and frustrated with it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was her just screwing off. She definitely sounded like she was definitely trying to be a good student, but not everybody is as gifted as the next individual. Maybe she wasn't as gifted as her sister. You know, can you blame her for that? You know, somebody saying that I know you can do better, can't you?
hard to say in this one. We don't have enough details.
Right. We don't know these people. I mean, the people that might know, they might be like, oh yeah, no, you didn't have a chance in hell. So, but you know, you never know. All right, guys. Well, hey, I appreciate the time on this, Steve. Thanks for coming out with us and going head to head with Khalil because he can bring in some stuff. So that was good.
Thanks for coming in, Steve. I really appreciate you. It was definitely good to hear your different viewpoints on everything. You know, I did say something along the terms of like, you know, maybe being able to bring up some pretty good points for the mom, but you nailed it.
Yeah.
That's a hard one, but yeah, I think this was fun though. This was good being able to kind of play both sides in my head beforehand and kind of oh man, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I think this is a good article because you can really kind of argue both sides. Every once in a while you get one, you're just like, oh no, I know I'm screwed. You're like, yeah, this is a loss. So, but great. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. So hopefully you come join us again.
Yeah, let me know. I'm down.
Absolutely. Awesome. Khalil, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
Talk to you guys soon.
All right. Take it easy, man.
See you, man.